Hey everyone, I hope the new GBL season is treating you well. Today I have a new line that I've been having a lot of fun with, but I will say it's going to cost you a couple TMs. So my line is Mew with Galarian Stunfisk and Registeel. If you don't have a Great League eligible Mew, then unfortunately you probably won't be able to use this line. The role that Mew plays is pretty unique and it's pretty hard to replace. For the charge move, ideally you want Flame Charge with Grass Knot. Unfortunately for me, I've spent over 90 TMs trying to get Grass Knot and I've only been able to manage to get Energy Ball. So I end up using Energy Ball in this video, but Grass Knot is a much better grass move. It costs less energy and does the same amount of damage as Energy Ball. So I'll get into the matches and I'll discuss a little bit about the strategies I use to excel with this team. Getting right into it, I'm going to cover the match where Mew solos an entire team. And so you're going to see right here in this matchup with Galarian Stunfisk, the big thing is you want to shield an Earthquake. And so my opponent does a really great job of charging up to the Earthquake right here. So it's worth using a shield. However, if they only are throwing Rock Slides, you can let at least one go. So, and they also don't shield right here. So now I know I'm going to commit to the second shield, see what happens. It is going to be an Earthquake, so now I'm pretty comfortable. Even if I get hit by Rock Slide, I'll survive. Able to just farm down. And right here with the boosted damage, this Energy Ball is going to do a lot more damage. And I'm just going to throw the Flame Charge right here, and let's see if my opponent shields or not. You know, Azumarill is a counter to the steals in the back, so I'm going to stay in here and just do as much damage as I can. They swap to a Venusaur. At this point, I've been boosted, I think, 3 stages of attack. And so it's going to one-shot the Venusaur and then take out the Azu. So as you can see, the combination with Flame Charge and then the secondary coverage move of Grass Knot or Energy Ball is really solid. Ideally Grass Knot, of course. Alright, so in this situation, my opponent actually swaps out. So I'm going to counter swap with Registeel. Obstagoon actually checks the entire team, so it is kind of scary to deal with. Luckily, this one isn't running cross chop, but even if they were, you can still get to a charge move. And I'm going to go and just bait with a Flash Cannon and then go straight for the Focus Blast right here. Let's see if I get to or not. Maybe I don't, so I think I just go for another Flash Cannon. Let's see if I get the shield. If they were counting, then they probably won't shield here. And so smart play by my opponent not to. But at this point, I have energy on the Mew, so I can get rid of this Obstagoon right here. And let's see what they come back in with. With the energy buff, this Stunfisk does have the shield, so I think I shield right here, expecting the Earthquake, because that's definitely going to be bad. And then I'm going to just throw the Flame Charge. They need to land another Earthquake to take me out. So I know they have to expend all their energy if that's the case. But yeah, so they actually can't take me out with just the Earthquake. So that's pretty good. Now I'm going to land the Flame Charge on Cresselia. So Cresselia, because it's only going to be able to throw a neutral Grass Knot, which isn't going to hit that hard because Cresselia is so defense weighted. I'm just going to land an Earthquake and then just farm a bunch of energy and get an Earthquake on the opposing Galarian Stunfisk. So Stunfisk is really definitely something you don't have to worry too much about as long as you shield the Earthquake from the opposing player. So something you might be wondering is why a grass move instead of like Wild Charge? And the big reason is really because of the Mud Boys, so the Swamperts, the Whiscash, Quagsire, stuff like that, or even Unova Stunfisk can be pretty bad. So what I do right here against Azus is I swap to Registeel, trying to catch one of their charge moves. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at the very least, almost none of them shield the first charge move, because even if it's a wild charge, which they're expecting, they know they can survive it, and then my defense will be debuffed. But essentially what I'm trying to set up is put this Stunfisk in farming range so I could build up enough energy with my Mew to come back and hit the Azu with more damage. So this looks like it's going to be an Earthquake, so I do shield. And then now I have a charge move ready. I can throw this at the Azu, and I think they need a Hydro Pump to even take me out. So I'm going to throw this, and let's see what they do. I should be able to outpace it to its next charge move anyway. And then my opponent swaps to the Tropius. And so the beauty of having double steel tanks in the back is once they take out one of them, they're expecting they're in the clear. But a lot of people build more balanced teams, and that's what they expect, you know, kind of to face. But if you're building unbalanced teams like me, or using unbalanced teams, you can really use that to your advantage. Of course, if they have, you know, 2 steel counters in the back, then it's a pretty hard task, obviously. But yeah, so like I was saying, I like the grass move much more. You're going to have the same benefits against Azu, but the benefit really is against the Mud Boys right there, because this entire backline is very weak to Whiscash, Swampert, you know, stuff like that. So that's really the big premise of the grass move. I see a lot of people running Flame Charge with Wild Charge, and I think that's fine depending on the rest of your team composition, but for my specific one, the grass makes more sense. And so right here is a good example of where I'm able to catch the charge move by the Azu. I can even catch a Play Rough, so that's actually really good. And then now with the Medicham, Medicham probably has to shield one of these Flash Cannons if it wants to survive, unless it's running Dynamic Punch. So let's see if it is or isn't. Okay, so Ice Punch. So it looks like they're probably running Ice Punch with Psychic. And because of that, they're going to have the shield. So that's what makes Registeel a really good safe swap. Pretty much everything needs to shield the Registeel at one point in time, except for maybe Alolan Marowak. Might be another one or two that might need to shield as doesn't need to shield, but I think that's the only one. So I'm going to throw a Flame Charge right here. I probably should have thrown the Energy Ball because I got to as well, but I kind of panicked and I expected them to shield, but they don't. So I am going to shield this move right here, and then it's going to be another Play Rough, but I can Mud Shot it down, so I don't think it's a terrible shield usage. And let's see what they come in with. Okay, so Alolan Marowak. So I'm going to just go straight double Earthquake, even if they shield. I should be able to take it out before they get to their next one. And I believe I shield this just because in case of the Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, it's not, but it should be okay at this moment in time for the Alolan Marowak. They still have the Medicham in the back, so definitely doesn't put me in a great spot, but I know they don't have Dynamic Punch, so they're probably running Ice Punch and Psychic still, and I'm going to take it out with the Rock Slide. Yeah, so even purposely losing Switch Advantage here is not the worst case scenario, because what you're really trying to do is draw out the fighter, because a lot of people can still run a fighter in the back of an Azu, and so that's why switching this is really important. So again, could catch another charge move. This looks like it might be an Ice Beam, and then not going to do too super fight damage, and of course here comes the fighter. So the big thing is drawing out the fighter in this specific scenario with Registeel, so that you can use Stunfisk to clear out everything in the back. And my opponent actually does a great job right here by not shielding. Experienced players will know that you can survive that first Flash Cannon. So this is still not a great spot for me to be in, but here comes the Altaria, so this is actually really good now. Again, at this point, I think Stunfisk can potentially sweep the entire backline. I just need to shield the charge moves from Azu. And so I'm expecting my opponent to shield right here because they know they don't want to deal with this Stunfisk with their Altaria, so I'm going to shield, and then even though it's an Ice Beam, it's going to do a little more damage I think than Sky Attack from Altaria, so I don't think it's a wasted shield. And then going to farm it down with Mud Shots, and now I should be able to finish it off with probably like a little bit more than 2 Rock Slides. I probably had to land a third, so at this point I'm thinking I'm just going to drop a Rock Slide and a Swish and Mew to kind of Shadow Claw it down. Mud Shots don't really do that much to Altaria, so you don't want it to farm too much energy. Oh, okay, I guess I actually let it go, let the Stunfisk go, just so that they have to drop their energy to take out, and then I could take it out with Mew. Okay, so Skarmory, what do you do right here? So against Skarmory, it's not the worst matchup for, for Mew, but the thing is you have 2 steals in the back, so you want to really match those up with Skarmory. And so I bring in Stunfisk instead of my Registeel, because Registeel is a much harder counter to Skarmory than Stunfisk is. Fortunately, I was actually able to get both shields from this Machamp. So Shadow Machamp is kind of rough against Mew, even though you're resisting the counters. Shadow Machamp just hits like a truck, and I'm going to have to expend both of my shields here to kind of even maintain an advantage. So it really just comes down to what they have in the back, hoping they don't have another fighter, which seems unlikely, and of course it is going to be Azu, which makes sense because 2 fighters and a Skarmory in the back would be terribly weak to a lot of things. So Mew is able to kind of chip away at this, and then they bring in the Skarmory. This is perfect, and then now I could just drop the Focus Blast, farm some additional energy, and drop a Flash Cannon on their Azu. Overall, this team is a ton of fun to play, in my opinion, and it doesn't really get walled by too much. I'm going to show you obviously some losing matchups throughout these sets, but they really have to kind of have the perfect counters for your team in some ways for you to lose really hard, which is possible, but against a lot of what I see in the meta, this is actually pretty solid. And a big reason why I enjoy Registeel is because a lot of teams are now weak to Registeel because they haven't seen it too much. Galarian Stunfisk has really dominated the market in terms of steals. In this moment in time, I'm going to bring in Registeel into Altaria because it has a worse matchup than Galarian Stunfisk does. So, want to match that back up in the later down the road. All right, so now I don't know if my opponent undercharged there or not, but great play by them to not shield. So yeah, Toxicroak is one of the few that you don't actually have to shield as long as you're not shielding either. So I guess that's another example of a Pokemon that it's not the best for Registeel safe swap, but it is what it is. All right, so my opponent right here brings an Altaria back, and then they actually bring a Dewgong. So this is actually pretty good. Gives me a slight win condition right here. The big thing is that with the Dewgong, Mew has some play against it, and even after these debuffs, I can bring Mew back in and then clear the debuffs for my Stunfisk. So I'm going to throw this one just to put some shield pressure on, and then I'm going to bring in my Mew. Luckily I was able to catch a charge move right here, so that's good. Great catch by my opponent to swap to their Altaria. Either way, Flame Charge wouldn't have done that much more damage either because it is resisted. But yeah, so this gives them a slight chance for sure. But I'm going to definitely have to charge up to 2 Rock Slides to take him out. So let's see if I can get to it, and I'm going to throw this right away just because I really don't want to take a Sky Attack right here or any additional Dragon Breath damage. And let's see if I can get to it, and I think I just get to Rock Slide in time. I don't know if that's a CMP or they're like maybe 1 Ice Shard away, but it was definitely a very close matchup. So Altaria is definitely a tough matchup in general for this team because Mew doesn't really have any options against it, whereas Mew has options against Skarmory with a Flame Charge. But it really just depends on their backline in some ways. Obviously, if they have like 2, I don't know, like counter use or something, you're gonna lose very hard. But that entire team loses to Azu, so it's unlikely you'll see something like that. All right, Deoxys Defense, a great matchup for Mew. The reason being, you're resisting all of the counter damage, and then your Shadow Claw damage will just ramp up with with Flame Charge, and it's pretty much impossible to lose that lead unless, I don't know, unless you're really doing something wrong. So my opponent brings in Umbreon, obviously a very hard counter to Mew, so I'm going to swap out my Mew for Galarian Stunfisk because Registeel has a great matchup with Umbreon in the back. And I'm not too worried about whatever moves this is, even this Focus Blast. I could take it out with Mew still, so I charge up a little extra energy just so I could bring some chip damage onto the Umbreon, but at this point, it really doesn't matter too much. I think we're going to maybe stay in just so that they have to throw a charge move. But they'll know it's over once they see the Registeel. But like I was saying, a lot of teams are really weak to Registeel these days because they don't anticipate it in the meta, which makes sense because Stunfisk is so strong. But because of that, a lot of teams are really weak to Registeel as well. You see a lot of Bastiodon and Razor Leaf lines, which I will showcase in a little bit. That entire team loses to Registeel, right? So obviously that team is still around because it works against the meta, but if you counter the meta with something like Registeel, you could be in a good spot. All right, Medicham, great spot for Mew to be in as well. So I am going to just throw Flame Charges, ramp up that damage. I believe I probably shield right here just to preserve some health on Mew. Mew does well with a little bit of health. And so they bring in Alolan Marowak, so huge counter to Registeel. So I'm gonna bring in my Galarian Stunfisk instead. They're in Rock Slide range, so unless they choose a shield, I let this go too because it's gonna be a Bone Club. I'm not too worried if they do shield this because I know they have to spend probably 2 shields to maintain the switch advantage. And if they're going to, that's not the end of the world because I have Mew with Shadow Claw that could really damage this Marowak. So they didn't get too much value, honestly, out of that Marowak. And then now I bring in Registeel. I could just lock on down this Medicham and then just Focus Blast from here. Honestly, Mew would be pretty good against Ferrothorn right here too, just because the Flame Charge is going to do a ton of damage and my opponent is going to concede the match. I'll talk a little bit about this later, but Mew actually has a really solid matchup against Alolan Marowak, which probably seems surprising. So Toxicroak, kind of annoying to deal with too, just because these charge moves hurt a lot more than Deoxys Defense and Medicham's charge moves. It's kind of similar to Machamp in some ways in that regard. So I am going to have to double shield, unfortunately. But I think that was a CMP, I'm not sure, because I think it would have been better if I farmed up a little extra. But regardless, so this is actually not too great because I don't want to go into a Stunfisk with a shield advantage and with energy advantage. So I'm going to throw the first Flame Charge, and then I'm going to bring in my Registeel instead. And right here, what I'm trying to do is make my opponent drop all their energy. And I know I can survive an Earthquake and still get off a Focus Blast, so this will put me in a better spot against the, what do you call it, Stunfisk down the road. And they bring in Ferrothorn, which is not going to do well against the Registeel, but now I'm pretty comfortable because now I could just farm up some energy off of this Ferrothorn, and then the Stunfisk is in Rock Slide territory, so I should just be able to build up to Rock Slide and just Rock Slide the Ferrothorn, or Rock Slide the Stunfisk to play the matchup. So yeah, so anytime you come in and you have shield disadvantage and the opposing player has a Galarian Stunfisk, you definitely don't want to swap to any of your own Stunfisk because you're just going to get taken out by the Earthquake. Alright, so this is actually a really tough one. Vigoroth is resisting the Shadow Claw damage, so it's not like the traditional fighters here. Well, it's not even a fighting type in general, but it does act like a fighter in some ways. So what I do right here is swap out after taking a Body Slam, because I don't want to get hit by a Bulldoze right away. I don't know if that's the best play or not, but it's kind of what I came up with at the time. And this at least puts it within Flash Cannon range, so they have to shield Flash Cannons instead of... if you swap straight away to a Registeel, you kind of have to bait with Flash Cannon, or just try to land a Focus Blast, which is definitely a worse spot to be in. So again, Deoxys Defense is a solid matchup for Mew, but with energy disadvantage and now shield disadvantage, it is kind of a tough task, to be honest. And you can see there, I was trying to catch a charge move on my Stunfisk, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. Good news about Stunfisk is you actually don't really need to worry about any of these charge moves. So I'm going to build up a little extra energy here just to prepare for what they have in the back. The fact that they're not swapping out right away is kind of making me concerned, because that means that they probably have something that counters Stunfisk in the back. So luckily I was able to draw a shield right there. And so that's why I'm hoping, you know, well, even Ice Beam at this point is not going to be a big deal. Yeah, so Ice Beam even could take me out. I was going to say hopefully they don't have Hydro Pump, but it doesn't matter at that point. So 3 Pokemon that check Steel. It's not much you could do at that point, especially Vigoroth has the lead. Sometimes you just have those matchups, and that's just a losing matchup no matter how well you play it. Alright, so Meganium. So the big thing is Meganium can eventually beat out Mew if they double shield, but they chose not to shield, so this is good for me because now I'm in a good spot. Even though I'm down 2 shields, I feel pretty comfortable about this. And let's hope this is a Rock Slide, because then they're going to really have to shield. Yep, so I think a lot of people aren't, at least at the time of making this video, familiar with the matchups with Mew, but in that situation, they definitely want to go straight Earthquake. So they do shields right there, and then now I'm going to come in and just throw a Flash Cannon. I know I could get Flash Cannon faster than the Stunfisk can get to an Earthquake, so I could force out that last shield, and they come in with Toxicroak, which is a counter to Stunfisk, but with shields down, you can Earthquake it and then win that matchup. So that actually puts me in a good spot that all shields are down. Had this Toxicroak had a shield, then it probably would have just destroyed my entire team. So now I'm able to get to Rock Slide against the Meganium, and then the Stunfisk can end. They're going to have to throw their energy, but at this point I could just walk on down with Registeel with pretty much full health. So yeah, so Meganium definitely something to think about. If they do double shield, I would just recommend swapping your Registeel towards the end so that you still have to Mew for a fighter or something later. Alright, this is a very tough one. Shiftry is really tough for Mew in general, just dominates it completely, with especially with the energy generation and resisting the Shadow Claws. Yeah, you have Flame Charge, but they're getting to Leaf Blades and Foul Plays faster than you anyway. And then the big thing is Stunfisk is your best safe swap because Registeel is your best matchup. And they actually did a great catch on their Stunfisk too, so yeah, really bad spot for me to be in. At this point, I just need to let whatever move this is go, because I'm at a disadvantage already in terms of the matchups, and so I need to save my shields for this Registeel. Yeah, I don't even think I haven't even seen their third Pokemon yet, so this is actually not looking good. I think I do shield. Oh yeah, so they even bait me with Rock Slide right here. Very smart play by them. At this point, I'm forced to throw a Flash Cannon. Had they not thrown the rocks, had they thrown an Earthquake, I would have tried to farm down with a Lock-On. But that's actually really bad. Shiftry actually does solid even against Registeel. In this scenario, Shiftry actually can win, so they don't even need to show their third Pokemon if they don't want to. And it doesn't look like that's the case. Yeah, I just don't shield because I'm like, if they're baiting me, I need to let it go. If they're not baiting me, I still lose. So I just had to hope that they're baiting me. But yeah, that's going to be GG. So Shiftry, very tough. Shiftry and Vigoroth lead, those are two that I actually haven't figured out how to beat yet. You know, obviously I probably got a little less lucky on the back line as well, but you know, it is what it is. So maybe if someone can pull it off, they can let me know how that goes. Yeah, so Shadow Victreebel. A lot of variations of what Shadow Victreebel lines can be. This one happens to be with a Shadow Mawile in the back, so a lot of hard-hitting fast move damage. Great job by opponent to not shield that Rock Slide. But, you know, teams like this need to use like 20 shields to keep their Pokemon alive, and I don't really need to shield much with this team. And then so now they come with Bastiodon, so another hard-hitting fast mover. Here's the thing with Registeel, people aren't really anticipating it, so lines with Shadow Victreebel and Bastiodon are just super weak to Registeel. There's really nothing they can do against it. I'm going to shield the Leaf Blade because there's no way that the Bastiodon gets to 2 flamethrowers, so I might as well use those shields because I don't want to get taken out by those Razor Leafs. And then a Focus Blast right here should pretty much almost KO the Bastiodon. Yeah, so I'm going to completely outpace it to my next charge move if this doesn't take it out. Oh, actually, no, I just bring in the Mew just to finish it off. I already had the charge move ready, so I might as well do that. So yeah, let's see another different Shadow Victreebel line, see kind of how this goes. So they're staying around here. Some of this stay in. You definitely want to swap out because Shadow Victreebel does beat Mew once they shield once. So I was able to lure out their Scrafty too, which honestly is pretty tough against Mew. I really want to take out this Scrafty. I'm going to try to get to a Focus Blast right here, which I was able to. Let's see if they double shield or not. A lot of people don't. Okay, so I guess they do. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's a good play by them. So I'm going to have to shield this Foul Play. But the good news against Scrafty, at least, is that for Scrafty, you don't have to... Oh, yeah. So that's what happens if they don't shield the Flame Charge. It's actually pretty good because they bring in Azu now, which is also strong against Galarian Stunfisk. So this actually entire team counters my team. I think they just, unfortunately, brought in the wrong Pokemon after losing Switch Advantage. After the switches. So now this is actually a really good spot for me to be in. The big thing that I like about this matchup is that Scrafty doesn't have any hard-hitting charge moves, even though I am weak to fighting. So I feel pretty confident that I can still take out the Scrafty with Galarian Stunfisk. Galarian Stunfisk and Registeel, to be honest, are both very versatile tanks, which is why you've seen them a lot in this season and past seasons with Registeel. Essentially, it gives your line a ton of flexibility, and then Mew with both Flame Charge and Energy Ball, or Grass Knot ideally, helps kind of cover those gaps, which is why this team has worked super well for me. Alright, so we've all seen this before, the Bastiodon with double Razor Leafer. Sometimes they're double Shadow Razor Leafers. In this scenario, it's just a Sunny Cherum, which honestly is probably not a bad call by my opponent right here because it does tank much better than some of the Shadow variants. So they do lose Switch Advantage here. Even if I lost that Switch Advantage, the thing is, Registeel, there's nothing they can do to beat it. So I am going to shield the Flamethrower at this point because I know they have to shield the Earthquake. So let's see if they do or don't. They don't, actually. I think they might have thought I was baiting. But either way, this Shadow Victreebel has really no play against the Registeel. So I think I just bring in... Yeah, I bring in the Registeel. And what I'm going to do here is just absorb the damage, whatever charge move it is, and then bring in Mew, because I don't want to get hit by a Leaf Blade and just Shadow Claw down. So that's one way to play it. Usually if you lose Switch Advantage, which definitely happens against with Galarian Stunfisk, you could just completely sweep with Registeel anyway. So if you hate seeing those lines, feel free to give this line a try, because you're never going to lose. There's pretty much no way. Okay, so there's some other variations of Bastiodon leads I've seen. So I've seen a lot of Bastiodon lead with Fighters and Shadow Victreebel in the back. I believe that's what this is going to be. So again, Machamp is a much bigger issue for this team, but I was able to take it out with a Flame Charge. They bring in Bastiodon. I'm going to charge up to some energy right here and then bring in my Registeel. I probably should just swap straight away to Registeel. I don't know. I was expecting maybe an Azu in the back or something. I want some extra energy. But yeah, so again, this is a pretty good spot for me to be in. I am going to shield the Leaf Blade right here. It probably would have been better for me to shield the Flamethrower from earlier, but at this point I still feel pretty comfortable that I could get to the Focus Blast in time. Let's see, yeah, these Smackdowns are going to be slow charging, get to the Focus Blast, and I think, yeah, I was getting ready to switch in case it doesn't KO, but it does. Alright, Whiscash, so moving on to the Mud Boys. Whiscash is actually a really decent matchup for Mew. The big thing is, they need to land a Blizzard to beat you, so if you're counting properly, just be sure not to shield any Mud Bombs, and then you're fine. Alright, so I won't shield the first one, obviously, but just go straight Grass Knot right here, or Energy Ball if you're in the unfortunate situation like me. So they actually swap out here, so I guess they don't shield 2 Mud Bombs, which is fine. They swap out to the Skarmory. Trying to think, why did I not bring in Registeel? I think Registeel makes more sense here. So that probably was a bad call by me. But oh, I guess the thing I'm thinking about at this point is I want this Stunfisk to have enough energy to take out the Whiscash later. So Earthquake is actually going to do really solid damage against Whiscash. So I guess maybe that's my play, is to farm up a little extra energy off. You can see that I'm going past the Rock Slides, of course, against the Skarmory. And now I'm going to drop the Earthquake. And as anticipated, they bring him in. I'm at a 2-0 shield advantage right here, so I'm in a really good spot. And I still have a Registeel in the back to handle a Venusaur and a Skarmory, which is both going to lose to Registeel. So I'm going to just let this charge move go. No big deal. I bring in Mew. Try and do some chip damage. Probably was just better for me to go Registeel, to be honest. I don't know. I was just getting a little too greedy there. But I'm going to just lock on down this Venusaur and then just drop the Focus Blast, take out the Skarmory. So yeah, so Whiscash right there. If they just kept staying in the matchup, just start shielding after the second Mud Bomb, or you can even shield after the first one if you let it go through, and then you'll be in a good spot. Alright, so Swampert is actually a really tough Pokemon for this team. So at this point, you can either go straight Grass Knot, or you can go Energy Ball, or sorry, Grass Knot or Energy Ball, or go Flame Charge. Flame Charge is better if they choose to shield, but you never know. So I'm going to show you some matches where they do shield and they don't shield. Yeah, this is actually not great too, because Deoxys Defense is actually very solid against my backline, and at that point my Mew is actually really damaged. So Swampert is actually really tough because it doesn't have the same win condition that you have against Whiscash. Those Hydro Cannons will add up and they will take out your Mew. So you really just have to hope to land a Grass Knot / Energy Ball or Whittle Down Shields with Flame Charge. So let's see if they shield right here. My opponent still doesn't shield. Very impressive by them to just tank that. And then so at this point I'm going to just bring in my Mew. I got to get rid of this Swampert. No way I want it to be matched up against my Registeel. They don't shield. And then luckily it is Abomasnow in the back, and they are going to concede the match right there. So again, they don't anticipate the double steal, and because of that, this line can work out really well once you get rid of the big threat. So again, another Swampert. This time you can see I'm actually going for that Energy Ball. And let's see if they shield or not. Sometimes they do, and you're just like, I should have just gone Flame Charge. But they actually don't right here. And I think a lot of Mud Boys anticipate Surf with Wild Charge, which is a pretty common moveset, or Flame Charge with Wild Charge. But with that Grass move, it does give you the appropriate coverage you need against Mud Boys, which obviously this team is very weak to. I am going to just go straight Earthquake right here. They shield. I kind of make a misplay right here. I should just shield this, even if it's a Rock Slide, I still outpace it to an Earthquake. So I guess I get getting a little bit too fancy right there, but I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. Either way, Mew will take it out, and I feel pretty confident that there's something in the back that Registeel is good against, and of course it is a Skarmory. Unlikely that they'll have a Swampert, a Stunfisk, and another Steel counter. Galarian Stunfisk is already a solid kind of Steel counter. Its worst matchup is its mirror against other Steels, so seems unlikely. Yeah, and so they're going to bring in the Skarmory. I'm going to take it out with a Flash Cannon. Yeah, I think obviously I could have played that a little better, but I was able to get a decent cushion room with my team comp and take it out right there. So yeah, so Swampert, I don't know. Sometimes I throw Flame Charge, sometimes I throw the Grass move. Yeah, it just depends. All right. So regular Stunfisk, or So this one's going to be kind of interesting. You want to just go straight grass move, in my opinion, because again, most aren't anticipating there to be a grass move, and it really helps clean out that matchup a little bit. I actually tanked the Spy Slam. This is actually going to be really tough for me. Again, Vigoroth is very tough. Luckily, it was on a switch in instead of the lead, but I'm just going to go straight baits right here, see what I could do. And I think I am going to shield what might be a Bulldoze. Yeah, so this is going to be a Bulldoze. And then I'm going to go straight Focus Blast right here. Let's see if my opponent double shields or not. If they do double shield, I'll have to just take it out with Stunfisk. But they don't. And then this is actually not too bad for me because I still have my Mew and it has energy. So I'm going to just throw the Flame Charge. Of course, again, I got to the Energy Ball. But I kind of panicked just do the Flame Charge. And then it's going to be another Mew. So this is actually really bad if they're running Flame Charge. I'm going to let the first one go. So as a Galarian Stunfisk player, so even if you're not planning on using this line, you should note that you should let the first charge move go, unless it seems like it might be an overheat, because the subsequent flame charge is going to do way more damage, and you want to shield those instead. So I was able to bait it with a Rock Slide. I knew that was my only win condition, is to bait it with the Rock Slide and then land an Earthquake and another Rock Slide. So fortunately I was able to take it out, but it's definitely going to be a very close match. Alright, Raining Castform. So speaking of more waters, or kind of ground types, so this one's pure water. Go straight Energy Ball, obviously. Baiting here is not really going to be a great payoff. So I was able to land it, and so at this point, I'm going to shield the first Weather Ball. I think I'm going to get hit by a second one, but I'm going to tank the second one. And oh no, I guess I just Shadow Claw down. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not a bad idea because the Weather Ball will put me really low to a point where all the energy I farmed was really not useful. They actually swap out and lock in their Tropius, so this is actually really good for me because I know their Raining Cast is pretty much out, so it really depends on what they have in the back, but I feel like there's not too much that can handle this entire team in the back line. Unless it's like a Shadow Machamp would actually be kind of tricky here. Yeah, we'll see kind of how it goes. I do a full charge. I think I should be able to farm a little bit off of that. Yeah, not too much. It's going to be their own Stunfisk. This is actually not too bad. The big reason is they're probably going to shield. Oh, actually, they don't shield. Wow, very, very gutsy. Okay, so they do throw a Rock Slide. I guess the big thing here that I know is that I survive an Earthquake. So I just need to land 2 Rock Slides maybe to take it out. That's going to be very close, actually. Yeah, that... Oh, great swap by my opponent right here. That's a great catch by them. But they have to throw their energy right here, and then I still have Mew, which should be able to Shadow Claw down. Oh yeah, they undercharge a little bit too, actually. To get a little extra farm. But yeah, but Mew. Oh yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, this is a great game actually. I swapped to Registeel on the last second to catch that charge move and then bring in Mew. Yeah, that was a wild game. But yeah, so that's pretty much how I play Raining Cast leads. Mantine. Very annoying for the backline. It beats Registeel and it beats Stunfisk, so you need to take it out. This is your one chance. It's not too bad in the sense that the bubble beams won't hurt too much, but you just have to call the right baits or Ice Beam bait or whatever. So or if they're going straight Ice Beam. So luckily I was able to come out of that one. This probably wasn't the best play by me. What I should have done is brought in Registeel instead into Galvantula because Galarian Stunfisk has a much better matchup, but unfortunately I did not do that, so that was kind of a misplay by me. I'm going to start baiting with Rock Slides because I know they don't want to match up this Galvantula with my Galarian Stunfisk, and then I'm going to throw another Rock Slide bait. Yeah, so I purposely undercharge that because now I come in with Registeel and then farm energy off of this Ferrothorn. If I took it out, then I would be at an energy disadvantage against this Galvantula. Yeah, so I swap right here because now I could land a Flame Charge and probably force a shield. If I do force a shield, I don't know if that's a good play because now this Galvantula has a ton of energy. I know they can get to another discharge before I can take it out. So I'm going to go straight Flash Cannon right here. I'm trying to think. I feel like Flash Cannon is still better against Galvantula. Not too sure actually. It does resist both Flash Cannon and Focus Blast, so I don't really know which one's more energy efficient. But luckily I was able to finish it off with Lock-Ons. So I think looking back on that, if you see a Galvantula come in, you should swap Reggie instead, so you could reposition it for a better matchup with Stunfisk down the road. Alright, Alolan Marowak. Surprisingly, this is actually a really great matchup for Mew. It doesn't seem like it, and they're going Shadow Ball here too. If my opponent chose to just bait with Bone Clubs, and bait both of my shields with Bone Clubs, Mew still wins in 2 shields, which is pretty wild. And the reason why I love this matchup so much is because you're just throwing Flame Charges, ramping up that Shadow Claw damage, and then now you're going to do a ton of damage to whatever comes in next, right? And so this is going to do a huge chunk of Azu's health. And then at this point, I think I was getting a little overconfident trying to Shadow Claw down. I almost did actually, but at this point, they're in a very, very tough spot. Let's see what they have in the back. But yeah, I'm just going to Mud Shot down here, get a bunch of energy, and then it's going to be, yeah, Hypno. Really nothing they can do at this point. Even if it lands Focus Blast, they'll have a full health Registeel in the back. Take it out. So if you see a Alolan Marowak in the front, don't panic. I know it's Ghost. Ghost is super effective against Psychic, but with that Shadow Claw damage and the ramped up damage from Flame Charge, you'll be in good shape. So yeah, so let's see kind of how this plays out again. So if you're wondering how this team does against the double grass line 2.0 with Alolan Marowak and Shiftry and Ferrothorn that I came up with last time around in Great League, it does okay. Shiftry is a big problem, and I've only played against it once. There were just impressive plays on both ends. My opponent really played well and was able to come out with a narrow victory. I wish I could show that match, but unfortunately my screen recording did not save that one, which was very unfortunate. But yeah, that might be a match you see. I haven't seen that team too many times this season, but if you do run into it, it is winnable. But Shiftry will be a problem. Alright, but in this specific scenario, they instead have Scrafty, Azu, and AWAC instead. So I was able to get rid of my opponent's shields, and now I'm just going to go straight Focus Blast to take it out. This way I have a much better matchup in the back end. My opponent does have to throw energy right here, so that's pretty good. Right here, if they are running Hydro Pump, they had to dump all of their energy to take me out. This looks like it's going to be Ice Beam regardless, so they might be running Ice Beam and Play Rough. Or they just want more time to farm extra energy because I do have that Mew in the back which can handle the Azu. So unfortunately they're not able to take out the Stunfisk, but even if they did, I'd still be in pretty good shape with the Mew. So yeah, a little Marowak. Love to see it. And there's a decent amount this season for sure just because the rise of Galvantula. Alright, Abomasnow. This is actually a really good matchup for Mew. But the thing is, you have Registeel in the back, which has an even better matchup against Abomasnow. So what I like to do is charge up a little extra energy and then swap to my Galarian Stunfisk. This way, I have a lot of energy for whatever comes out next. Or it looks like my opponent right here is actually staying in. So yeah, let's see if they swap out. Yeah, they eventually swap out here, which is fine. Because now I have a shield advantage and energy advantage on this Mew. And primary job is to take out Azus and counters to Registeel in the back. I believe I do shield right here. It's going to be a Play Rough, so this is pretty good. They're probably running Play Rough with Hydro Pump. And let's see if I could get a shield right here. I probably should have just gone straight Energy Ball. Yeah, I probably should have, because then I wouldn't have to spend the shield. But either way, now I have energy on my Mew for the Abomasnow, so they're going to have to shield here or just tank it. And that's fine. And then they come in with Altaria. This is actually not great because, yeah, Altaria can beat Registeel in some scenarios, and especially with some energy lead, so this could be rough. What they probably had to do is sack their Azu at one point to really ensure they win this matchup, although honestly they might not have to, but I was anticipating that, so that's why I just go straight lock on and wasn't throwing my Flash Cannon right away. I bring in the Mew right here, and then because I didn't want the Altaria to farm down my Registeel, and I was able to finish off with Flame Charge and some Shadow Claw damage. Okay, what do you do in the mirror? Well, big thing is, what kind of mirror is it, right? So this one looks like it's running, it's not running Flame Charge, because it wouldn't have thrown it that early. So this one's running Surf with maybe Wild Charge or Overheat. So because of that, I'm just going to shield because my Shadow Claw damage is going to really add up. And yeah, so it's going to be Overheat. I could potentially try to farm down, but at that point I'm like, I might as well just throw it because I can't really do anything with my Mew if I just try to farm it down anyway, and they'll still be up a shield. So I charge up a little extra energy, and then now I bring in my Registeel. I don't know. I guess I could have brought in Stunfisk as well. Either way, Registeel is pretty solid against. Both are really solid against Bastiodon. But because they shielded here, I'm thinking maybe they have a Shadow Victreebel in the back. We will see. And no, not Shadow Victreebel, but it is going to be a Tropius, which is also going to be very weak to Registeel. And then I still have Mew with some energy. I still have Galarian Stunfisk. This is pretty much over. Yeah, I think probably a slight misplay by my opponent right there, thinking they probably could get to another Flamethrower in time. But regardless, I don't think there's too much play right here. And then I just bring in the Registeel. I don't show the Galarian Stunfisk. Honestly, sometimes when I'm building these lines, I try to just reduce the vision my opponents can see in case we rematch or whatever. Obviously, once you all see this video now, there's no surprise. So this Mew is actually running Flame Charge, so it's a straight mirror. So the big thing is, as long as we're shielding, we're not actually losing to the charge move damage, we're losing the fast move damage. But I think we both just want switch advantage, so we're just going to do whatever we can to try to pressure the other opponent to not shield. But it looks like we both shield, we both simultaneously KO. So right here, it's you really got to read what the situation is. I bring in Stunfisk every time because in case there's opposing Stunfisk in the back, you want your Stunfisk to have... You don't want your Stunfisk to be on a energy disadvantage. So they do have a Stunfisk, and luckily I was able to call the right lead right there, because if I brought in my Registeel, then that would not be good against Galvantula. So my opponent does throw a charge move right here, but I know they have to throw a Rock Slide to take me out. So luckily I was able to get to mine first because I was in that matchup slightly ahead of time, and then now this Galvantula going to hit me with discharges, but I'm going to be able to get to a Flash Cannon beforehand. So if you run into Mew mirrors, that's usually what you do. If you run into a mirror of this line, using this line, I would still bring in Galarian Stunfisk in first. And that'll just be, I don't know, this is going to be a weird mirror match to be honest, because it's all going to be charge move based. So towards the end it'll actually be a little CMP. In that situation, you almost probably want to lose the Stunfisk matchup so that you can farm extra energy with Registeel first. Yeah, that'd probably be how I play it. Obviously, I didn't run into any mirrors, straight mirrors in this one, just because, what do you call it? I haven't released the line. Alright, so in this situation, my opponent swaps out of their Galvantula. Honestly, Registeel might be a better matchup here, but my thought process is also I can farm energy and just drop flame charges on the Galvantula instead of having to use Registeel for it. So that's still a potential option. I do drop this flame charge right here because I don't want to get hit by another charge move, and I could just throw a flame charge to take out the Galvantula. So they actually do have energy here though, so I definitely have to watch out. Great catch by them with the Hypno. So I'm going to charge up energy right here to a flame charge and nice swap. Because I want that flame charge ready for the Galvantula in the back, because I just don't want to have to, I don't want to have to get hit by a charge move later. So I'm going to just charge up a bunch of energy just to be safe, and then I think this Galvantula does have to throw their energy if they want to win this matchup. So I'm going to throw the Flash Cannon, and so there's no way they're probably going to have a charge move stored. Yeah, they concede, because I think they realize that like there's no way they're going to be able to take out my Registeel by dropping energy and then survive the flame charge from you. Alright, this is a tough one. So Haunter is actually very tough for this team because it does beat Mew and it does beat Registeel. Especially with the Flash Cannon nerf, to be honest, since 2 seasons ago. So because of that, I bring in the only counter for Haunter and just hope for the best. Because I don't really want to bring in Registeel and just does a ton of energy to Registeel without taking much damage. But luckily they actually, well, of course they had to swap out, so they do swap out into their Azu, and luckily we CMP there. So I charge up a little extra energy. Now I bring in the Registeel. They have a Galarian Stunfisk in the back, so it's not great by any means. But they don't shield for some reason. Maybe they thought I was going to bait. I'm going to preserve my shields and just tank the charge move. It turns out to be a Rock Slide. And I'm going to tank this move as well. At this point, they go for another Rock Slide. They're thinking, okay, I have 2 shields, I have to shield. But I'm not going to shield. I'm going to save all my shields for this Haunter. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll just fast move it down. And so I think that's what I'm committed to at this point. The Shadow Claw damage does add up against Haunter, it's very glassy, so I'm just going to fast move it down, know where they can get to 3 charge moves in time, and finish off the match. So yeah, so fortunately that was kind of well executed on my end, and unfortunately for my opponent, they didn't use shields earlier, but usually that's actually a very tough matchup, and I think I'm going against 2 Haunters so far. I did lose the other one just because it's completely out team comp. Alright, Umbreon lead, very tough for Mew, really nothing you can do. Flame Charge is not going to be able to do enough, Grass Knot is not going to do enough, but they do have Shadow Victreebel, which is great because Shadow Victreebels do chew up a lot of shields. I do just let this charge move go. It's actually a Leaf Tornado, which is kind of interesting. I just want to preserve shields because I know I have a grind in the back. Not worried about the Umbreon, but worried about their second Pokemon. So maybe it's Azu, who knows. But I do go straight for the Focus Blast. Surprisingly, they're still in this matchup, so maybe they have a Skarmory in the back or something. I do shield the second one because these Dark Pulses are going to add up. I'm going to charge up a little extra energy and my opponent can see. So my guess is maybe they have a Skarmory in the back, or maybe like a Abomasnow or something. Hopefully you enjoyed all that footage, and if you want to try this team yourself, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. Best of luck on that TM roulette. I personally wouldn't recommend using Elite TM just to TM your Mew, but if you really want to use the moveset, maybe it's worth it, I don't know. So if you do end up on Energy Ball or Grass Knot, it's not the end of the world. It's what I pretty much use in all these matchups. A big shout out and thank you to all of my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you haven't seen on Twitter yet, I actually built a PC for streaming purposes, so stay tuned for details about when I'll be streaming on Twitch and how that'll look. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video, and I'll see you all next time.